You know, this plant-based way of eating absolutely and categorically changed my life. I'm endlessly grateful to this approach, but that's not to say it's without challenge. That's not to say it's without due criticism. And we're here to talk about these things. We're not going to be so dogmatic that we suppress and ignore these things. And perhaps me talking about these things is going to make you feel better and validated in the struggles of your journey. And of course, today I want to share with you some troubleshooting tips for each of the things I discuss. So here are my 5 brutally honest truths about plant-based eating after 10 years living this lifestyle myself, so you don't fall into the same traps that I see time and time again and experience myself. Harsh reality check number 1. For the first time in your entire life, your eating habits are going to be like a social atomic bomb going off around the dinner table. Folks that literally stayed silent whilst you were filling your belly with pizza, dessert, 3 glasses of wine at the restaurant 2 months ago, suddenly are concerned about your lack of protein, supposedly B12, or you getting so stick rail thin like a gaunt little creature that's deficient in every nutrient under the sun. Simultaneously, they have no idea about what nutrients they're getting and missing out on, but suddenly they're concerned about your calcium, even though they can tell you how many grams of calcium they get per day anyway. That's the great irony of this all. Look, I say concerned, they're concerned about you. I say this sort of sarcastically, a little bit facetiously, excuse me, but maybe it is genuine, maybe it's from good, noble intentions, maybe they do care about you, they're just misguided, or look, let's be misguided, that's a bit arrogant. Let's be really generous with this. Let's be really kind with this. Let's say they just have a different way of seeing things. They just have a different way of seeing the world, different way of seeing nutrition. Their concern is perhaps warranted in their mind, and that's why they are saying something. But how do you respond? How do you respond when you're not going in bragging? You're not going in even talking about it. In fact, you're really hesitant to even talk about it. This mythos about vegans being the preach you on, actually you feel the opposite. You're like, just leave me alone. I hope nobody notices my food choices when the server comes around and quizzes me for them. How do you handle this stuff? Well, different scenarios. If somebody says, don't lose any more weight, you're fine as you are, which is a really irritating one when you actually want to continue losing weight and you're feeling really good in the process. What do you say to that? You say, thank you very much, and you don't even entertain the conversation. You don't explain yourself, because then you enter into their frame and you imply that their question is legitimate and it's any of their business. So you just say, thank you, that's really kind of you, I'm feeling good too. Move on. If they say, what about protein? You can either give them an answer and you can say, well, for protein sources, I've got X, Y, Z in my diet. You know, list the protein sources you know. I eat plenty of tofu, beans, a little bit of seitan from time to time, and you know what? The nuts and seeds, throw in the rice, the oats, they throw in a couple of grams of protein here and there, and I'm actually getting about 80 grams of protein per day. You know what? It's actually more protein than I used to eat on the old omnivorous diet. You start throwing in some numbers there. That's a really good way of ending that discussion. What about something you don't know? And they ask you about B12, and maybe you don't have an answer like you have for protein. Well, I'm not really sure about that because I'm kind of new to this lifestyle. Just be honest. Say, look, I haven't researched everything yet, but, and this is where the kicker, but you know what? I'm 10 pounds down. What I know for sure is I feel really good right now. I just put a pair of jeans on that I haven't fit in 3.5 years. It felt amazing, and I'm learning on the job. I'm going to learn as I go. I'm going to look at the B12 stuff and a few other things, but I'm feeling really good right now. When you cite the results you're getting, I've lost 10 pounds, I feel really good right now, for some reason, it just silences people. Even though results are not necessarily proof of concept all the time, it just silences people. They go really, really quiet. And so then you move on the conversation. Do not explain yourself if you don't want to explain yourself. Look, just say, I don't know everything yet, but I'm getting really good results right now and I feel great and I'm learning on the job. Honest truth number 2, travel is much harder. No way around it. I can't really spin this one. Of course, it depends where you go, but generally speaking, I have to plan much more now. I can't go out on a whim. I can't just stroll around, especially if I'm with a group, and hope to find something in every place. I mean, it depends where you go, right? Some of the European capital cities or major cities, same is true when I visited the US. I'm sure Canada's similar. I'm not been, but I'm sure Australia, New Zealand would be very similar for this. And a bunch of other places. Bangkok was absolutely a breeze, but the rest of Thailand, more of a struggle in moments. Japan, outside the major cities, that was difficult. You know, the more far-flung places you go, the more challenging this can be. China, pretty brutal actually at times. Where else? Taipei was fine, but the rest of Taiwan, yeah, really difficult. I had to do some makeshift meals with whatever I could find. But you know what? It's just, I just consider it, this is the tax that I pay to live this lifestyle, and I'm so happy to live this lifestyle, and I so don't see the alternative as a viable option, so I'm totally cool with it. There's no resentment towards it. It just means that I have to do a bit more planning and thinking ahead, and yeah, that is more of a chore than when I was omnivorous, obviously. But you know what? Maybe I'm looking for silver linings here, a little bit aggressively, but one thing I would say is the chance of me having a 10 out of 10 meal now when I travel is considerably higher because I actually have to do research. I don't just walk around a city and just jump in a restaurant that kind of looks good to me because I've done research before 9 times out of 10. But yeah, hopefully in a group setting you can find something that works for everyone, and sometimes it will go more in your favor, sometimes you have to kind of work with the group and get over it. What I would always say though on this is practical steps. Number one, Happy Cow is a great resource, great app when you're traveling. It's not always up to date, so it's worth cross-checking with Google, opening times, things like this. I've made lots of mistakes, various places. Italy, this always seems to happen as one particular example. I'm pretty cursed in Italy. The second practical step, always have snacks with you. So always have some dried fruit, maybe some trail mix, some nuts, seeds, you know, one of those dried fruit and nut bars, something like a Lara bar, Naked Bar can be really, really helpful. Something on the go as your like backup plan. If you've got a bit of fresh fruit, fantastic, keep it with you to just hold you steady so you don't keel over, because when you're traveling, it's really important. You're getting lots of steps in, you might be hauling some luggage around, you're on weird time zones. It's really important that you don't get miserable, right? It's really easy to get miserable and angry, and it really sours the travel experience when you're on the go all day, rushing around, a little bit stressed, late flights, delays, running here, there, and everywhere, jumping between public transport, taxis, etc., etc. So have just that hit of calories with you to keep you safe, to hold you over in case a meal gets pushed back or you can't find something adequate. But yeah, there's no way around it. Travel is harder. But again, I love this lifestyle, so I don't care. I don't complain. Just get it done. Honest truth number 3, you know, this one, it doesn't affect everyone. It didn't bother me actually when I first transitioned to this lifestyle, but a lot of people can have some gas and digestive discomfort. First thing I wish to say is actually that could be very normal as part of dietary change, especially when you're shifting to such a high fiber diet. It's not though a definitive diagnosis or the sole reason. Fiber might not be the sole reason as to why you're struggling digestion, comfort-wise as you transition to this lifestyle. There are other things too. It might be a FODMAP issue. It might just be there's a particular trigger food for you. But in many cases, the good news is this does solve. I find that this is completely anecdotal, but about, in my experience, 80% of the time, this sort of solves itself within 3 to 4 weeks of transitioning to this lifestyle. But it might be that you have to reduce your fiber slightly, switch from roll oats to quick oats, switch from sweet potato to white potato, switch from brown rice to white rice. Make a couple of these changes. Maybe consider, if you've got loads of cruciferous veggies in your diet, doing some non-cruciferous veggies because you're having a problem with some of the compounds in those, because they can cause some kind of fermentation and gas and digestive discomfort as well. But all I would say is, like, this is par for the course. I think some people, they feel, well, I know very well because it's documented widely on social media, and it's a stick from the carnivore crowd to beat plant-based and vegan nutrition with, I think very unfairly, to where, oh, my gut had a rather bad reaction when I switched to plant-based. That's not inherently a red flag. Where's your troubleshooting? Where's your sense of, well, yes, of course, the microbiome, it can take a while to adjust. Let's work around it. Let's work with it instead of just seeing this as necessarily a red flag. If I had gut, I would like to think very honestly, I'm biased, of course I am. It's hard to remove that hat sometimes, which team, quote unquote, I'm on, if you're to make it some binary thing, which is so polarizing. But if I'm to remove the plant-based dogma, I love this lifestyle hat for just a second, I would really like to think that if I started eating a certain type of food and had a bad reaction to it, my immediate response is not always automatically, oh, so that food is bad for me. I would also want to look at myself and go, hold on, why is my body having a reaction to what is clearly and plainly a very healthy food with loads of good nutrition in it? Isn't maybe that a me problem rather than the food problem? But no troubleshooting, just another reason to bash plant-based nutrition with. Honest truth number 4, it's not automatically, plant-based eating is not automatically better for weight loss, or is it? Because actually the data on this is really compelling, that folks of a vegan or vegetarian disposition do actually have a lower average body weight than omnivorous eaters, certainly than those following a standard Western diet. The meta-analyses that I've looked at on this are really rather compelling. But so broadly, yeah, we can say plant-based eating is actually better for weight management. But simultaneously, what I said was automatically. Is plant-based eating automatically better for weight loss? No. And I think some people really do believe this. Some people are really told that just eat healthy, the whole plant foods, the weight's going to fly off you. And then they're really disappointed. They're really confused. Or maybe they lose the first 5 pounds and then they hit a wall and they're like, hold on, I heard this was amazing. All these amazing case studies, testimonials on social media. What's going on here? Elephant in the room, you need to be in a consistent calorie deficit to lose weight. Like, sorry to state the obvious. I think most of us know this by now, but we get lost in this. We get lost in the magic of this way of eating being a magic magic pill, silver bullet. And it's important to be really realistic. I argue that plant-based eating is incredible. It has some incredible advantages to control weight, such as the high fiber content coupled with, of course, the low calorie density of many whole plant foods. So it has an amazing ability to help you control your weight, but it doesn't alone guarantee that you consistently stay in that calorie deficit. It certainly doesn't guarantee your consistency. And the other thing I wish to say here, otherwise I would not have made a full-time profession for the last 7 years out of helping people lose weight with plant-based diets if this wasn't true, but plant-based is not some kind of silver bullet for deeper underlying poor habits around food, cravings, turning to food when you're stressed or when you want some entertainment, emotional eating, binging, maybe your diet is on point but you're a very sedentary person. Like, just being plant-based is not going to magically heal all of those underlying behaviors that you're still struggling with. Sadly, it's no magic pill, in other words, is what I'm wishing to say. And lastly, brutally honest, truth number 5, sorry, but I've got to be honest, nutrition gaps are possible if you're careless. I know a lot of people pro the plant-based side want to say, oh, you don't have to worry about anything, you're eating all these nutrient-rich foods, don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, to a degree, like, the devil's advocate on this is, like, are you more exposed to nutrient deficiency on a balanced plant-based diet than the standard Western diet? No? Are you joking me? And this is where there is this ridiculous double standard to where, like, I think I said this 5 minutes ago and put in honest truth number 1 here, to where people are like, oh, what about calcium? What about iodine? What about B12? Sorry, mate, did you ever worry about any of that stuff? Do you ever think about any of that stuff? Or are you just saying that because for some reason you got that association with vegan, with plant-based? So yeah, there is this ridiculous double standard. For me, I wish I had it. I wish I had blood work data before and after switching to this lifestyle so I could actually see for sure what was going on there. But anecdotally, again, I'm biased and it's hard to remove that hat sometimes, but anecdotally, I mean, my diet before I switched to this lifestyle was utterly atrocious. Utterly atrocious. There is no way that I'm more exposed to nutrient deficiencies now. In fact, far the opposite. And I think my results, anecdotally, physically, it's not everything, but they do speak for themselves. And I get my blood work done about every 18 months to this day. I'm due it soon, actually, which I keep saying the last couple of videos. But anyway, I have no reason to suspect this. Like, this is ludicrous. But again, that's the double standard. But just because there is a double standard around this, just because some people have a skewed perception of this lifestyle being inherently deficient, that doesn't negate from the fact there still could be some gaps on this lifestyle. So things like B12 do need consideration. Things like vitamin D fortified with K2, it does need consideration. By the way, I think actually omnivores should be considering supplementing vitamin D anyway. So again, some of this stuff is not exclusive to plant-based eating is also what I wish to say. Omega-3, absolutely, because the ALA conversion, even if you eat plenty of like walnuts, hemp seeds, flax seeds, etc., you want the ALA conversion, just making sure that's sufficient to have a DHA EPA supplement to just ensure that little insurance policy there. And there's like secondary things like iron, calcium, iodine. I've kind of mentioned a couple of those, I think, earlier on again in point number 1. I don't consider these mandatory for vegans and plant-based dieters to definitely consider, but I think they're worth a reference here when we're talking about the subject of supplementation. So yeah, nutrition gaps exist, but yeah, there is a lot of overemphasis on this. There is a disproportionate level of, again, to use that word earlier, concern about plant-based diets and deficiency from folks that have never cared about this stuff, never thought about this stuff, never ever turn the mirror on themselves on an omnivorous diet, but yeah, it's ludicrously disproportionate, but hey-ho. And that's it. Those are my 5 brutally honest truths about plant-based diets after 10 years, almost 11, living this lifestyle myself. I hope you heard something new from this video today. I don't want this to be generic or cliche stuff. These I really thought about as I was planning this video. What do I see over and over in myself and in other folks that can be really challenging and surprising with this lifestyle? I think the social one is probably the big one that we started with. Let me know which of these resonate with you most of all. Let me know any struggles and follow-up questions that you have in the comments down below. I'll catch them in the coming weeks. And thanks for your time. See you in the next video.